right, guys, now look at this. We do this. 1 times 25 is a positive 25, and we have a positive 24, which means both terms have to be positive. If they were both negative, the middle term would be negative. Remember, a positive here means both are positive, both are negative. But if the middle term is positive, that means both terms are positive. And the terms of 25 are either 1 and 25 or 5 and 5. Which means, is there any way, do either of these terms going to add up to give me that? No. So this is prime. It cannot be factored. You have to be careful. Shh. Many of you want to make that, and you got the right choice. Oh, 1, 25, and negative 1. But 25 and negative 1, when you multiply those together, would make this a negative 25. All right, so be careful. This is why it's very important to write down everything here. Even if I wrote down the negative terms, there's still, none of those are going to add up to give me a positive 24. All right? So be careful. This one, can I factor out anything?
Yeah.
Guys. I cannot factor out anything. There is no common factor except 1. 1 is the only common factor there. So now I do my 36 and 12. So I have 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. So I have 6 and 6. So I have x squared and 36, 6x and 6x. What can I factor out here? X. An x and a positive 6.
I got it right too. So I can put this word. There's no negative. You can put this word after one parenthesis. Yeah.
Now, I want one of those special patterns. Shh. This is a square. This is a binomial squared. Guys, up here. Remember, if you have this, you think, well, I have a square and a square. Anytime you have two squares at the end, you want to look at that middle term. So I would take the square root of each. Shh. I take the square root of each. Is the middle term double the product of those two? The product of those two is 6x. Is 12x double 6x? Is 12x double 6x?
No.
Yes, 2 times 6x is 12x. This is another one of our patterns. If the middle term is double the product of those two, then it's going to be that. Okay? Remember, there are two special patterns. There was the pattern of when you have the difference of two squares, and when you square two things. Marissa. Factor these two. Good. Factor those two, please. So, on this one, can I factor anything out? Remember, that's always our first step. The answer is no. -4, -3. Make sure you get those minuses in. They changes things a lot. So our factors of -4 are 1 and positive, -1 and positive 4, 1 and -4, 2 and -2. Those are our factors. Which of these is going to add up to give me a negative 3? 1 and negative 4. This is why you write down. Just so we have a visual, so you get the right one. So that this is the answer. Minus 4, yeah. Just showing that when I refoiled it on that. But I told you on the test is going to ask you to redo these problems, to do the checks. Okay? By fact, so this is a positive and this is a negative. I know that both binomials are going to be subtraction. Both are going to be negative. That guides my thinking. I gave you that pattern. Plus and plus, plus and minus, plus, minus and minus. It's a good thing to have committed to memory. So now questions about that one? I can't stress enough at your stage to do the factors. Too many times you guys are beginning the wrong number. You have to be very careful. If it's a negative, make it a negative. If it's a positive, make it a positive in this factoring on that. No. We're going to skip to number 20. So these ones are different. Shh. Notice now they are equal to 0. Okay? So now we have to factor them. We have to get the proper value for x. So everyone work on these two. Now the first two are kind of easy because it's pulling out a greatest common factor. So let's do these first two. Shh. Now, focus. Eyes, ears, mouths closed. First thing we need to do is factor out any greatest common factor. And the greatest common factor here is an x. Remember, that still equals 0. Still equals 0. Which means either x has to equal 0 or x minus 2 has to equal 0. Our zeroth property. Remember, if a times b equals 0, then either a equals 0 or b equals 0. That's that zero identity property we talked about last time. So this is done. X equals 0. Add to the both sides. X equals positive 2. So x is going to equal 0 or 2 would be our answer. Up here, we're going to factor out a y. So y equals 0 or y plus 5 equals 0. We would subtract a 5. Y equals negative 5. Shh. Questions?
So for those we don't have to show as much work, right?
I did show work. To this? Identity process that either the y is 0 or the y plus 5 has to equal 0. So, first we ignore still equals 0. 3 squared. It's one of our special cases. X minus 3 squared. because it's negative in the middle. This is x minus 3 squared, in which case I add 3 to both sides. So x is 3. It's 3 or 3. It's only one solution here. If you don't do your box, if you did your box, diamond and box, you would end up with that. All right? You can always do a diamond box. This one, I can't factor out, so I need to do my diamond box. So I have negative 10 and negative 9. Since they are negative, I know that one's positive and one's negative. So I have a negative 1, positive 10, 1 or negative 10, 2 and negative 5, and negative 2 and positive 5. Which of these is going to add up to give me a negative 9, Sam? Sam, replace Daniel outside, please. Which of these will add up to be negative 9? 1 and negative 10. So I have positive 1, negative 10. So I get x.
Mr. Bruce, Daniel won't come in.
Tell him to go to the office. When I do my box, negative 10, I factor out a negative 10, an x, and a positive 1. So I get x plus 1, x minus 10, there still equals 0, which means x plus 1 equals 0, or x minus 10 equals 0. I subtract 1, I get x equals negative 1. I'm going to add 10, I get x equals 10. So my solution would be negative 1 or 10, just like that.
So you want to put x equals 0? You want to put negative 1?
What are you talking about? We have two binomials. Each of those binomials could be the one that equals 0. There are a couple of problems like this. This was last night's homework. Very few of you actually did last night. We look at these problems. They're putting these into words. Now, the dimensions of a schoolyard are such that the length of the yard is twice the width of the yard. If the area of the yard is 16 yards squared, find both the length of the width. Always draw pictures. So we have a rectangle that has some length and it has some width. And it says, our question here says that the length is, how does the length compare to the width? How does the length compare to the width? It's on your page. Twice the width. So if W were X, L is going to be 2X. And they also told us that the area is 16 yards squared. would be 8. X squared would be 8. We would take the square root of both. X equals basically the square root of 8, which is 2 times the square root of 2. That'd be fine. Square root of 8 would be fine for the answer. For the test, you are doing this review. The section that's cut out is that 6-6 section that we didn't do. So you have all the section they came from. Remember, the notebooks will be this time. So you guys can get started on your homework. That's the homework. If you have one of those bad with you factored it.
No, you told me to do it. I showed you.
Oh. Okay. So you give you one more point back.
I put the right now.
I was gonna do it.
Yeah, you get the right. You get point back.
7 out of 8.
I got 4 out of 8.
I'll give you back a point. Because I took off 1 point for that problem, I give you back a point. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 out of 8. No, I'm not getting points for correcting it. I gave you back the point for my error.
What error? Just correct it. Hey, yours or not?
In other words, you got the same answer, then I didn't make a mistake. Wait a minute.
You corrected it wrong.
Oh, I gave you back your point. Oh, you want the other ones.
Yeah.
Well, how did I... That one's wrong. That's the answer over there. Did you have that there before? You had it there before. And you had that answer there before. So that should have 7. Can't believe I missed both of those.
Did I come here, Mr. Reese? Yeah. Not for Mr. Reese, can I come here? Yeah. Mr. Reese, can I come in? Nah, don't, hey.
Why are we up out of our seats? No, we can come in after the bell. Stay there 5 minutes. You guys can put your books away neatly. Sam, get out there, Sam.
My book away still.
We can get it later. Sit down in your own seats, please.
Like that? Number love? Such good.
positive and negative.